The world of gaming has seen a new behemoth rise recently with the release of the Elden Ring. This game has become an instantaneous cult classic that has already joined the pantheon of other great fantasy RPGs such as Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and the God of War. And we are sure our dear viewers, you too, have been stuck to your screen playing this beautiful work of art, because we sure are. One thing this game has an abundance of are Easter eggs. From previous releases by From Software to Berserk to even Disney, this game just about references every piece of fantasy entertainment out there. But there are some Easter eggs that you might have missed. And not that it has to be said, but there will be spoilers ahead, so watch at your own peril. Sit back, open up a cold one, by which we mean a can of Mountain Dew, and enjoy. The Moonlight Greatsword. Starting off, we have an Easter egg that is bound to get all the OG RPG gamers excited. As Elden Ring may not bear the Dark Souls label, but its roots are clear. And not only in its gameplay either. The Moonlight Greatsword is one of the most obvious references to the Dark Souls series. The Moonlight Greatsword is a series staple that can only be obtained by completing Ranni the Witch's questline. From the whole Dark Souls series, to its predecessor Demon Souls, to Bloodborne and even Armored Core games, variations of this massive, luminous blade have sliced an arc through all those unlucky to oppose its wielder. But little do most know that the sword made its first appearance even earlier. This lunar life-taker first appeared in the 1994 RPG Kingsfield. The Moonlight Sword was a powerful, translucent sword designed to defeat the game's primary opponent at the time. Nearly 30 years later, it's safe to conclude that its boss-killing tally has increased significantly. George R.R. Martin. Another set of Easter eggs come from the fantasy world of George R.R. Martin's Game of Thrones. In addition to being a crucial selling point for Elden Ring's marketing, George R.R. Martin worked for From Software as a principal consultant and lore creator. It's debatable just how much of an effect George R.R. Martin had on Elden Ring's universe, but one thing the author has stated clearly is that he didn't name everyone after his initials. Regardless of how much the Game of Thrones author protests, we find it strange that so many of Elden Ring's important characters' names begin with a G, R, or M. Godric, Godfrey, Ranni, Rennala, Raiden, Rogier, Raya, Marika, Margit, and Melania are just a few names that come to mind, and we're pretty likely to have forgotten a few. While Martin may not suspect anything, we wouldn't rule out the possibility that From Software stuffed the game with a befuddling mix of G's, R's, and M's simply to take a piss at George R.R. Martin. And in the case they did, we don't blame them. The Dragon Slayer. Hidetaka Miyazaki, the director of Elden Ring, has never been discreet about his affection for the long-running manga Berserk. The Dark Souls games have pulled a lot of influence from the manga for weapons, foes, and characters, and Elden Ring is no exception. The game is replete with homages to Berserk's grim environment, from armor designs to NPC stances. The gigantic greatsword is the most visible of them all. Despite its simple name, at least by Elden Ring standards, this massive, strength-based sword is an obvious homage to Berserk protagonist Guts' weapon of choice. The blade can also be seen resting on the wall behind blacksmith Hewin, who looks a lot like Berserk's cranky master Smith Godo. The greatsword in Elden Ring and Berserk Dragon Slayers aren't exactly identical, but the manner in which your character rests the gigantic sword over one shoulder is an unmistakable reference to the Dragon Slayer. Another reference, of course, being the size and general shape of the sword. This reference is even more heartfelt when you remember that Berserk's creator, Kentaro Miura, passed away earlier this year. His work influenced many video game designs from the last 3 decades, especially in the fantasy RPG genre. And what a better way to pay tribute to Kentaro Miura than to add the Dragon Slayer. Rest in peace, Kentaro, you are sorely missed. Griffith's Prisoner Helmet.
I'm sorry you've never seen me before.
Most normies, when they first saw it, may have assumed the default armor for the prisoner starting class was a homage to the Hollywood film The Man in the Iron Mask and the true story that inspired it. However, we're sure most of you gamers would have figured out by now that this helmet isn't from The Man in the Iron Mask, but rather it's yet another Easter egg referencing Berserk. The helmet shares unmistakable similarity in design to a Berserk helmet, specifically that worn by Griffith, the erstwhile commander of the Band of the Hawks, after he is located and freed from imprisonment from the torture dungeon at one point in the manga. He was strapped inside a helmet with a similar look at this stage, which helped hide the terrible injuries his face had sustained during his torturous imprisonment. The return of patches. The beauty of this entry is that it's the kind of Easter egg that From Software aficionados will appreciate, but it won't throw newcomers entering Elden Ring off guard. Patches is a recurring character in From Software's games that acts as a troll, and not the kind that's green, but the type who enjoys pranking and manipulating the player. In order to catch up with him as soon as possible, head to Murkwater Cave, which is at the mouth of Limgrave's main river. Navigate inside the tunnel until you reach a huge room containing a chest, at which point he will emerge attempting to open the chest. Patches will challenge you to a boss battle in which you must choose whether to kill him or show him mercy when he reaches half health. By sparing him, you gain access to his merchant shop where you may purchase and sell items from him. Blade is frozen.
No, please, no.
A From Software game like Elden Ring is perhaps the last place you would expect to find a reference or Easter egg to Disney or other children's entertainment products. That's why the revelation of a reference to the Frozen animated films was so surprising. A quick peek at the item descriptions in Elden Ring reveals everything about Blade's armor. The pelt serves as a cape to protect from the cold. Blade was the blade of Rainy, but the cold never bothered him anyway. Who knew the powerful, magically talented princess from another dimension had so much in common with the strong, skilled warrior of half-wolf descent? We for one didn't, but we sure were excited after finding out this Easter egg. Let's just hope you aren't too young to know. A blasphemous weapon. This entry will most likely be the most obscure of all the Easter eggs and allusions we've discussed so far in this video. Blasphemous, a 2D Souls-like Metroidvania game developed by The Game Kitchen in 2019, was largely inspired by the works of From Software. In Elden Ring, the Blasphemous Blade is a weapon obtained by fighting the god-devouring serpent at Volcano Manor. Not only does this weapon have the name of the previously mentioned indie game, but it also resembles the sword used by the game's protagonist. From Software is likely to have loved the game they helped inspire and wished to repay the favor by displaying their gratitude in the form of this Easter egg. And you know what? This is the sort of wholesomeness that makes even a Paladin-level gamer such as I smile. The Iron Throne Sword. The last Easter egg we're talking about is yet another George R.R. Martin reference, but this one, unlike the one we already discussed, is a lot more prominent. This Easter egg comes in the form of a sword you get by beating Leonine Misbegotten in Castle Morn. Now, you might be wondering how exactly a sword is a reference to Game of Thrones, and for that, you just need to see it. This huge blade is made up of many normal-sized swords that are all molded together, or as some might say, melted together with dragonfire. Yes, that's right. In Elden Ring, your character can wield a sword made from the Iron Throne. It's so close to the throne from the novel and television series that it's nearly incomprehensible to believe that the similarities are a mere coincidence. Well, that's all for today, folks. We hope that you enjoyed this video. Also, tell us in the comments section your impression of Elden Ring, and whether there are some other Easter eggs that you think should be on this list. And if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon next to it for regular updates.